conversations that matter, the insights you need. This is The Pulse, and I'm Francine Lacqua here in London. Now, last year, President Trump rattled global drug makers with threats of tariffs unless they manufactured in the U.S. It led to them running to cut deals with the Trump administration. Now, this was just one of the roadblocks that the pharma industry faced. But what about 2026? Well, I'm joined by Adam Dalzerda, founder of Visby Medical, which is announcing diagnostics partnerships. But first, Sam Fazeli, our director of research for global industries and senior pharmaceuticals analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence. So thank you both. Adam, congratulations. We'll get to that in a second. 2026, we have a full 12 months ahead. It feels like we've already lived 6 months this year, but we haven't. What will be the main drivers for pharma companies in general, Sam?
Yeah, the drivers have kicked off, Francine. Only last night we had a rumor that AbbVie, which then pretty quickly got denied by AbbVie, so we're still trying to figure out what the reality is or isn't, is going to make a bid for a biotech company called Revolution Medicines. That rumor came from Wall Street Journal. Then Bloomberg talked to AbbVie, and AbbVie, this is a rare event where a company comments on a rumor. They said, no, we're not in discussions. So we're trying to figure out what that means. And that could be a $25 billion. I mean, it depends, obviously. Yeah. The market's thinking the stock was up 30%. So that's the big kicker this year. And I think that M&A is going to be a key factor. And IPOs. We're looking for biotech IPOs, which have been very rare in the past 2 or 3 years.
And Sam, we'll talk to Adam in a second about this new collaboration. But are we going to see, I guess some of the physicians change, or some of these testing change? Is that going to be a huge game changer for the whole industry?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear what obviously Adam says, because he's at the coalface. But in reality, the revolutions tend to take time. Yep. In the world of diagnostics, and it's not like you launch a brand new medicine and everybody goes, wow, I need to have this. It takes time because the process is tougher. So I'm sure Adam will have some views on this. But certainly the administration is a very different attitude to health in general. And one of them is diagnostics. And I think that this new way that you got approved is quite interesting. So I'm sure we hear about that.
Yes, Adam, first of all, congratulations. I mean, this is about a partnership. It's a new collaboration. Can you tell us a little bit more about how big a deal this is?
Right. First of all, thanks so much for having me. So, if you walk into, let's say, a big hospital laboratory, you're going to find a bunch of big instruments. One of them will be a machine called PCR. And it is really the gold standard for diagnosing infections, whether we're talking about an eye infection, ear infection, respiratory, skin, even STDs. And really the main technological step that we've made here is to take that big instrument that's about the size of a sofa, costs close to $1 million, and we miniaturize to something that fits to the palm of your hand. So now we're empowering people to run those kinds of advanced diagnostic tests that you would otherwise have to go to the hospital for at the privacy and convenience of your own home. So if you take a step back, think about what it means for the system. The system is totally bogged down today and clogged with tens of millions of patients walking in to doctors' offices today, and you have to wait a few days, maybe a week or so, to get a result. So you go into the doctor thinking, I'm going to get a treatment, and that's not the case.
And
right?
Is this basically, has everything changed since COVID? So is the technology used, different thanks to COVID?
That's exactly right, yes. So really the fundamental challenge here is how do we empower patient access in a home setting, right? And COVID basically made everyone feel like, why can't I run those kinds of tests at home? So this is really what we've been able to do, is to convince the FDA for the first time really in the history of the agency, let's enable those kinds of advanced PCR diagnostic tests in the home. They're just as accurate as the big hospital laboratory tests, but they're giving you something that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise.
So I want to get Sam into the conversation in a second, but how much, this is also a big partnership with some pretty big companies. I mean, this is Quest Diagnostics, this is LabCorp. Right. So in terms of money, like how much are you expecting to either sell or partner or make?
Yes, so really what this test is enabling us to do now is to transition the testing from the laboratory to the home. And really those two major partnerships, Quest, LabCorp, the two largest laboratories in America, if you put that together with our partnerships with DoorDash for instant delivery, so these tests can be transmitted immediately to the patient home, we're starting to solve perhaps one of the most important challenges in healthcare, which is patient access. Right? And that's really the core of what this is. We started from a women's sexual health test for all the right reasons. In America, we have a real silent epidemic. 100,000 women every year in the United States lose their fertility entirely because of these completely treatable infections, mostly because of lack of access. So again, this is where the partnership with Quest, LabCorp, DoorDash, and so on really come together to solve that patient access problem that we have.
Sam?
But what's interesting here is, of course, STIs do make a lot of sense because You can't do what we call an antigen test. You remember what all those little tests we had during COVID? Those are...
Oh, we remember them.
Those are 2 to a penny, right? and how many people had their brains drilled? But here, STI does have another angle in that there's this potential stigma associated with it. So maybe people are more reluctant to go to a clinic.
Right.
And I completely understand that. And what's your view of the market size there in terms of the addressable market size? Yeah. We won't get into forecasts. But then also, where can it go from here? I mean, cancer, I wonder whether you actually... It's not a bad thing to go and see a doctor while you're getting your test results, etc. How does that work?
So just in the world of sexually transmitted infections in the United States, there are about 40 to 50 million such tests being run every year in the big centralized laboratories. About half the time, the result never makes it back to the patient. And exactly because of these stigma issues, the doctor finally calls you back, people don't pick up the phone and so on. So we have a real patient access and patient follow-up challenges there. But if you take a broader step here, if you just think about infections for a moment, think respiratory infections, so everything that PCR can test for. Respiratory infections like sore throat conditions. This is the kid waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Mommy, daddy, my throat hurts. They're spiking up fever. What is it? Is it strep? Is it one of the viruses? If it's strep, you want to give them an antibiotic. If it's one of the viruses, we're talking about a whole different course of treatment. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to prevent you from needing to go to the emergency room in the middle of the night or the urgent care or something, have that test right there, and then through an ecosystem that we built that can take you really from test to treat in a matter of about 10 minutes or so. So once we give you the test result, and it's a small little disposable test, once we give you that test result, 10 minutes later on the app, we're connecting you to telemedicine as part of the partnership we've announced today. And what that gives you is immediate access to treatment. So,
but Adam, so this is important, right? Because if I do the tests, I mean, if I'm, I don't know what to do afterwards. Right? I still need to speak to a doctor, which is why you've partnered with United Health to allow access to care. So how does that work?
Yeah, so that's perhaps one of the most important things. You're right, because
Sam knows what to do, by the way, if a child is sick. I don't.
Right. So let's say the average patient, right? They get one of our STD tests. If all we did is to give them the test result, and let's say they test positive for something, we just delivered them pretty bad news, but what do they do next, right? If they have to go to the doctor and schlep there and so on, that's not the point. What we did is we built a full end-to-end integration with the leading telemedicine platform in the world. And what that allows us to do now is to show you the test result, ask you a couple of questions. Are you allergic? Do you have any whatever, to anything, to pregnant and so on? And once you answer those questions, you press the button, and only 10 minutes later, you're getting that test result and prescription sent to your local pharmacy. So it's a test-to-treat ecosystem that we've enabled here, basically.
I mean, what are you most excited to? I mean, Sam's good point is, like, what other conditions can be tested?
So we start first from women's sexual health, but we're certainly expanding this to men. We men may not suffer the long-term consequences of these STDs, but we certainly need to test. It's the right thing to do. Beyond that, respiratory conditions, sore throat is another major one. Urinary tract infections on our list as well. Not just telling you what is causing the UTI, which pathogen it is, but also what is the antibiotic resistance that you're seeing here, because so many of these bacteria are becoming resistant now. And continue going down the list: eye infections, ear infections, skin infections, and so on. And there are quite a few of them.
Sam, I mean, does this change? How do you look at, I mean, it's not to talk about, like, Adam's business, but in general, it just change the social contract, right? The patient has in general with their medical doctor.
Especially in the U.S., there are changes happening. There are more and more specialist clinics opening, urgent care clinics opening that are not A&E exactly, but they're similar. And that, if you have a UTI, for example, you can go. But diagnostics moving closer to the patient, absolutely, is happening, and that's the way that you can solve. If you have a respiratory infection, it's better if you don't leave your home and not spread it, right? Remember, we've learned this, right? The question I have is, does the price point work for a influenza A, influenza B, whatever?
Yeah, and it's a great question. So I think the moment we think about it not just as a test, but as a full solution, end-to-end, I get this test, if I'm positive, there's a prescription waiting for me, you're saving the need to go to the doctor. That alone today to the healthcare insurance costs hundreds of dollars, right? Anywhere between $250 to $400 just for this one singular episode. If you can move all of that to the home, you're right, first of all, it's better for the patient. The privacy, convenience, you're meeting them where they want to be tested and treated, but also to the healthcare system, you're not bogging them down with unnecessary emergency room visits.
And you can get it to me quickly enough for me to know, I've got the sniffles, what have I got, or I don't feel very well this morning. Do I get it in, like, as you said, DoorDash? How quickly does that work?
So if you live in one of the areas that DoorDash is serving, and that we have a strategic partnership with them, we can get it to you within 20, 30 minutes or so. So again, let's say it's middle of the night, the kid waking up, sniffles or something, you're not sure. Should I go to the emergency room? Can I take care of it at home? Well, you can get the test right there, right then.
Very quickly, how large is the associated market for at-home testing?
So,
I mean, are we talking billions?
Yeah, totally, yes. Just if you think about the total number of episodes that are taking place today, it's somewhere between 80 to 120 million visits today that people go to the doctor's office. Every single one of them can be replaced with an at-home test.
Okay, wonderful. Great to have you both in the studio. Adam de la Zerda, founder of Visby Medical, and Sam Fazeli from Bloomberg.